I'd like to welcome our employees, our department heads, municipal leaders, elected officials, and local residents to the 2016 Rockland County Budget Address. Just about a year ago, I stood before you to explain how the 2015 budget was crafted to make some extremely difficult decisions. While those decisions were very tough to make, the result was a responsible fiscal plan that best served the people of Rockland. I like to say that developing this year's budget was an easier task, but unfortunately that was not the case. This year, the choices were even more difficult. My administration knew from day one that restoring prosperity to this county would not happen overnight. Righting the fiscal ship would take many, many months, and it has. We inherited a lethargic and disorganized operation plagued by out-of-control spending, soaring debt, and a massive $138 million deficit. In short, we were nearly broke, teetering on the edge of default. My first month in office, we had less than $42,000 in the bank in the third week of January. Frankly, I was left with a mess. But if there's one thing my years as a New York City cop taught me, it's never to back down from any challenge. We moved swiftly, yet deliberately, to change our downward trajectory. And since those first few weeks, we have identified and corrected many inefficiencies in county government. We cut expenses, we consolidated key functions, we controlled personnel costs, we transferred our mental and behavioral health services to Nyack Hospital ahead of schedule. We reduced borrowing, and for the second consecutive year, I'm proud to say this government is operating in the black. Guided by my Deputy County Executive, Guillermo Rosa, my commissioners and department heads once again responded to our fiscal challenges by reducing internal service costs and closely managing budgets and expenditures. They took up my challenge by reducing their 2016 budget by 5% from last year. In 2014, our operational efficiencies reduced our total payroll by nearly $5 million. We're expecting the same in 2015. Our people are doing more with less, and I give credit to all of them. The good news, all this hard work is expected to yield a second, small, consecutive surplus. We finished 2014 with a few million dollars in the bank. As I said, we anticipate the same for this year. Just 2 years ago, the word surplus and Rockland County could never have been uttered in the same sentence. But today, we are on the path to fiscal stability. Let me be very, very clear about something. This leftover revenue will not go towards operations or pet projects. As I have said from the very beginning, and until we clearly have our financial troubles behind us, any surplus we will help to use to pay down our deficit. This will help us move even closer to fiscal stability. Our long-term fiscal health depends on a wise and prudent actions that we take today. My proposed budget for 2016 builds for the future by saving money, paying down debt, and investing in our county's core needs. And make no mistake, people are recognizing our efforts to return responsible spending to this government. The major rating agencies have given 2 upgrades, a positive outlook and a credit positive report. And just last week, the State Controller, Tom DiNapoli, announced that Rockland County is no longer New York's most fiscally stressed local government. In just 1 year, 2014, we jumped past 5 other counties to move within a point of being removed altogether from the significant fiscal stress category. This dramatic turnaround is a direct result of my administration's continued commitment to fiscal responsibility, accountability, and economic improvement. When we began the budget process, we were looking at nearly a 20% county property tax increase for 2016, based solely on the sins of the past, demands of the Deficit Financing Act, ongoing repayment of the $96 million deficit bond, and the heavy burden of unfunded mandates from the state. We knew from my first day in office that a $17.5 million payment towards the deficit was due early this coming year. So with that in mind, we set out immediately to redesign and right-size our government. As you all know, we recognize that dollars saved in a day-to-day budget are dollars saved forever. We reorganized workflow, we tightened policies. We knew that any savings achieved during the first 20 months would benefit us now and going forward. And they are. I'm pleased to report that our continued operational efficiencies will shave nearly 30% from our remaining deficit by the end of the year. Believe it or not, this amount exceeds the demands of the Deficit Financing Act. In fact, it pretty much doubles that amount. And while mortgage taxes fell slightly short of projections, our sales tax exceeded our expectations, and the additional unanticipated revenues from that will only help us offset the deficit. We have this slide too. If it were not for the crushing weight of the deficit we inherited, I will be delivering a budget today with a significant property tax reduction. And as I said a moment ago, operation we're in the black. We are leaner, we are smarter, and we are running a small surplus. But the poor decisions, reckless spending, and mismanagement of the past continue to weigh us down. The money we're saving in efficiencies is directly going to our mortgage. Regrettably, if not for the sins of the past, Rockland County would be financially solvent today. We are not there yet, but we will get there. That said, due to the hard work of my staff and department heads and our dedication to best serve the people of Rockland County, we have crafted a responsible budget that calls for a modest 4.95% county property tax increase for 2016. With county property taxes representing only 7% of all property taxes, this minor increase equates to only $4 a month for the average Rockland County homeowner. That's a cup of coffee at Starbucks or a Big Mac. For that nominal cost, we will now be on a permanent path to fiscal stability. Unfortunately, the events that transpired only yesterday involving Summit Park obliterated our ability to deliver a budget that comes under the sales tax, the state tax cap. The administrative costs related to that closing down the complex will cost us millions. Simpaticare's decision to walk away from the deal to sell the facility not only impacted the patients and staff, but the taxpayers as well. We had hoped the prospective buyer would play a role in stabilizing the financial future of Rockland County by acquiring Summit Park and investing millions of dollars to upgrade its services, provide care, and most importantly, keep jobs here in Rockland County. Things, unfortunately, did not work the way we had hoped. Look, I would love to tell you that there's no tax increase in this budget, but these events clearly contradict that ability. But with the bad news we got yesterday, I simply refuse to propose a plan that includes one-shot gimmicks, overstated revenues, or kicks the can down the road. We formed a responsible, honest budget based upon the conditions that we're facing. That's exactly by doing these other things, that's exactly how this county got into the mess I inherited. I was brought here to this office to correct the course we had been on, and we have made great strides in doing so. Neither the actions by the buyer nor any other obstacle, whether it be real or perceived, will deter me from that covenant. Please know that we're working every day to make those tough choices. We continue placing an emphasis on providing the services that our bosses, our county taxpayers, rely on every day. The Deputy Commissioner of Hospitals, David Freed, will work with the State Department of Mental Health on a plan for transferring the patients served by the hospital and nursing home to private facilities by December 31st. The State Department of Health and the Governor's Office have already committed to helping us to get to that schedule, as the employees of our personnel department will assist with resume building, job placement, and interviewing techniques. In the meantime, let me be very clear. No money is budgeted in 2016 for the hospital or the nursing home. I repeated that before, and I'm reiterating it now. Understand this, for every month we delay from today, that will cost us in excess of $1 million per month in 2016. Clearly, we have no other option. As I have said many times, we will not be in the hospital business next year. And go back to that next year would require an additional 20% tax increase. These wheels were set in motion more than 2 years ago by the previous administration with votes from the legislature to form an LDC, an independent body with sole control over the sale. Removing the facility from our books involves the elimination of 288 filled full-time positions from our county workforce. That is the most painful decision I have had to make since I've come into office. It hurts. These are people who have been good to us and taken care of the sick and the needy. These layoffs represent dozens of hard-working health professionals who have cared for patients and residents for over 40 years. Some of these individuals have been with the county for decades and have dedicated their entire professional career to Summit Park. I thank them for their service and wish them well, and please know we will be assisting them in every and any way possible. Regards to further workforce reductions, and in order to finance the operations of county government and keep the tax increase to that $4 a month number, my budget proposal calls for an additional 38 job cuts. This brings to 326 the total number of county layoffs in the 2016 proposal, with the vast majority supporting operations at Summit Park. To better align our workforce with the taxpayers' ability to pay, we have steadily reduced staffing levels since I took office, from commissioners to receptionists and everyone in between. In fact, the county's headcount in 2016 will be its lowest in 25 years, 1,659 full-time positions. You can see how this has functioned over a number of years. All this was taking place during a time when the demand for services actually risen. It is only through the increased productivity of our amazing workforce that we've been able to deliver more services with fewer people. There is a light to the end of the tunnel. As a result of hard work, innovative thinking, and creative action, I don't envision the need for any more large-scale job cuts in the immediate years to come. Our organization will be stable. Early retirement incentives. A good number of employees are expected to participate in an early retirement incentive, and many of these positions will not be refilled, because you will not gain savings by refilling positions under ERI. This incentive will include all RAM, CSEA, and non-union workers. The payments for those who participate will be 2015 expenses. An estimated $2.5 million salary savings will be recognized in 2016. I thank the unions who have agreed to be part of the solution to bring prosperity back to Rockland County. A transfer of functions. As part of our efforts to redesign our government, the proposed budget for 2016 calls for the elimination of all 13 positions within the Department of General Services Security Division. The fact is the present partial deployment we have risk for safety and security for both our employees and visitors to our offices. My professional security experience tells me that we have a significant liability exposure also. In the future, we envision this function will fall under the jurisdiction of the Sheriff's Department, whose core mission is to protect county buildings and county property. This move will bring this county security force up to a highly professional level by utilizing armed, uniformed members of the Sheriff's Office to keep our workforce and our residents safe. This approach also aligns us with pretty much every other municipality in the area. My extensive law enforcement and security experience tells me that this is the right thing to do, and I know that our people will support this. Best of all, we will use existing taxpayer resources, meaning more public safety now and less public expense later. With the pending closure of the Summit Park Hospital, the health services that the facility provided to the Rockland County Jail for decades must continue. As a result, the proposed budget calls for a transfer of the existing medical services and 8 full-time positions from the hospital to the jurisdiction of the Sheriff's Office. And he felt that was the best way to go, and I agree with him operationally. The budget also calls for 13 new positions to meet the requirements of the New York State Department of Corrections. We are essentially building a new unit under the purview of the Sheriff's Office, and to emphasize, that will be fully funded. I know Sheriff Falco takes public safety as seriously as I do. I look forward to his support as we work together to transform Rockland County government. On a related note, this budget does not include funding to support the Sheriff's Mounted Unit. Not layoffs, just the mounted unit and the support. We cannot, in good conscience, continue to spend taxpayer money on feed, stable, and veterinary services when we are laying off county workers. We know that all this will not be a simple task, but we have the utmost faith that our sheriff will utilize his skills to handle this added responsibility. The resources exist, ranging from the prisoner transport unit, detectives and specialty units during their downtime, road patrol, and now the mounted officers. And unlike each and every county department who cut their budget from last year, and with this department fully funded to the same level as last year, we are asking the sheriff one simple thing: please do more with the same. Sale of property. As a result of yesterday's closure, well, not the closure, but yesterday's news that will result in the closure of Summit Park, the proposed budget calls for the sale of the Sane building in New City to generate $4 million. That number is equivalent to the one-time cost that we will incur due to the closure of Summit Park. This was a part of our plan for 2017, but with the sudden pullout by Simpatacare, we had to ramp that timetable up to 2016. This revenue was included in the fiscal plan. With the shutdown of both the hospital and nursing home, we envision a total transformation of the 10-story building to county office space, which would provide plenty of room for those departments currently located in the aging Sane building. We plan to begin marketing the new city property immediately with a commercial broker. Contract agencies. As I said at the beginning, this budget will lead to a historic reshaping of Rockland County government. This includes doing things a little bit differently with respect to what has previously been referred to as contract agency funding. We all know there are countless deserving nonprofit organizations in Rockland County delivering much needed services. As envisioned in my 2016 budget, there will be a substantive change to the manner in which the county will seek and obtain these services. We will comply with all procurement laws and the direction of the New York State Comptroller in doing so. There will be no exceptions. Instead of informing a group of hand-picked agencies that there are guaranteed funding, regardless of need or performance, this administration has put out a call to any company that provides services for public benefit to describe their programs. County departments will review these offerings and select a group of programs that best and most efficiently perform the public benefit work of government and serve the needs of our public. History and experience with the agencies will be our guide, but will not dictate our choices. And to better ensure that we can stay local with the selection of agencies, we again are submitting a best value procurement local law, and we are asking for support from the legislature in that endeavor to accomplish this task. The legislature will be involved in this decision making as well. We will have their members and staff invited to evaluate the proposals on services offered, and no contract with an agency will be offered unless approved by legislative resolution. So this will be a joint venture. We will have county departments observing the work and collecting reports and data to ensure the county tax dollars are being spent appropriately. We will never again go back to having the controller come down and talk about how we are not doing things correctly. The majority of our existing contract agencies have worked with this, they have embraced this new transparent process. From Child Care Resources of Rockland, to Meals on Wheels, to People of People, to the High Tour Animal Shelter, nonprofit directors and boards realize the benefit of reform. There will be continuity and a routine to funding. No longer will it be a guess every year. In recognition of this, I have allocated nearly identical funding levels as last year to most of these eligible organizations. Unfunded mandates. As most of you know, Governor Cuomo continues to push incentives for municipalities that cap taxes at less than 2% growth. And while our governor and the people in Albany will undoubtedly tout their success in keeping state taxes low, what they won't tell you is that they're continuing to pass the buck to local governments through unfunded mandates. Many of the services that we are required to provide originate in Albany, with no plan for sustainable funding, which results in a burden shift to you and to me. In Rockland County, 9 mandates consume well beyond 90% of all county property tax levies. This includes Medicaid, which is about 65%, probation, the SNAP program, indigent legal defense services, and these services rise 5, 6, 7% per year. Clearly, Albany has a great aversion to the property tax cap that they want our localities to abide by. Add these fixed costs of health care and mandatory New York State pension fund contributions, and it's easy to see how local governments and their taxpayers can be overwhelmed. I recently did join with my county executive colleagues from Westchester, Orange, Putnam, and Dutchess to push back against these crippling mandates. It is my belief and the belief of virtually every other county executive that the government of the state of New York has failed to deliver meaningful mandate relief. I urge you to contact your state representatives and demand that to happen. To not have that happen is going to be destructive to every county in this state. Tell them to take their own advice. Cut costs in Albany before passing the buck to our local municipalities. We must not sacrifice services at home to serve the master in Albany. Out-of-county community college chargebacks. Proposed budget also contains a revenue for $1.8 million for legally charging back to the 5 towns their respective share for their residents and students who attend community colleges outside of Rockland, nearly half of which is the Fashion Institute of Technology in Manhattan. They were so apprised early in the year, and we yielded to the town's concerns last year by holding off on this until this coming year as to not compromise their 2015 budgets. Unprecedented challenges lie ahead still. We have streamlined government operations, cut costs, and face difficult problems head-on. Being county executive is not about doing what is easy. It is about providing leadership, protecting taxpayers, and delivering services. The Rockland County Legislature plays a critical role in this process. I have great respect for their policy-making responsibilities. I also have a great respect for the many legislators who on both sides of the aisle are trying to get things done. But I must caution legislative leadership that if they to act on major policy issues will inevitably have long-term negative consequences for taxpayers. I call upon our Rockland County legislators to join me in supporting this budget. It delivers essential services and pays down our deficit without bankrupting our taxpayers. And one more thing. For the first time, Rockland County budget is going green. This is part of a larger resource-saving initiative that my administration announced jointly with the legislature. The 2016 proposed budget will be available at 4 p.m. at rocklandgov.com. The digital version, whose 4-book print version containing nearly 2,000 pages, is fully searchable and available for download. Buy extra paper, folks. You're going to need it. We expect that the e-budget will save nearly 10 tons of paper, or around 240 trees, and save tens of thousands of dollars over the next 5 years. I want to thank you, and at this point I'm going to ask Commissioner of Finance Stephen DeGroat to join me, and I want to acknowledge Commissioner DeGroat and Budget Director Grogan for their work in helping put together this budget. This is a $750 million budget approximately, many, many moving parts, and they were an integral part of our work with our department heads in a collective, collaborative way of putting the budget together that's going to work for all of you.
Question?